Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is Monday. We're back to do it all again. Charlie Miller with us. We've got a big lineup as always. Kyler Staley will be jumping on. We'll get an update on the AAU activity over the weekend. Dustin Dopirak, Jim Reamer as well. Charlie Miller's with us as always. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Cannot complain. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I'm a little hoarse. Been in the gym all weekend. I coached all weekend. It was great. Some tough loss, one expected, one great win at the buzzer, two other, natural wins. So 3-2, not bad for the weekend.
Hey, it's a winning record.
Yeah, not bad at all.
It's a winning record. Anytime you can get a winning record, no matter what you're doing, it's a good weekend. Lots going on. The NBA playoffs, the Indy 500 poll is set. NASCAR had their all-star race. The PGA was yesterday. An unbelievable finish there. AAU weekend results. Trace Jackson Davis is coming back. Also, we hadn't got to talk about that because that happened after we went off the air Friday. So for Indiana fans, that's the biggest news, of course. John, you have that text. Do you have that text I sent out like 6 weeks ago, or tweet rather?
A tweet, yeah. So back on April 7th, you said, I fully expect Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson to return to the Indiana basketball team next season. A source told me yesterday that Thompson had signed a 6-figure NIL deal. Zach Osterman today reported that the pair were 2 of 14 IU athletes signing NIL deals.
Yeah, that's that. But that was 6 weeks ago. I predicted he was coming. I knew he was coming back, which is great. Now, what do the Indiana fans think, Charlie? What does this do for this team? I know it puts them in a position they have not been in a long time, and that is to be talked about legitimately as a potential to win the Big Ten championship. I mean, the talk before last year, all that stuff, that was fan talk. Now, people like me are going to be saying, all right, they're in contention for a Big Ten title now because they're going to have what they need. They're going to have the coaching. They're going to have the recruiting class coming in. They're going to have the experience with Mike in the previous season, and they're going to be one of the favorites. But don't forget, Hunter Dickinson's coming back to Michigan too, so it's not like Indiana's out there running by themselves.
Correct. And for me, it's awesome. It's a good thing because you have a chance now to have a veteran locker room. Now Geronimo has experience. Race, Xavier, Miller. I mean, you have an experienced team. What I'm hoping is that they really dive into their plays this off season. It's great to work out on individual stuff. Trace needs to show more range of skill, shooting, putting the ball on the floor. Race can also become more of a scorer. All things that we know. But I think really understanding, like to win at the levels we're talking about, you really have to know your coach's playbook. You really have to understand your scoring options. You really have to understand your counters. Like, I think they have that chance to really get better. And if I'm not mistaken, Jim, they can practice together. They can play together. I mean, they can beat it with their coaches. Unlike how we, like in the 90s, you couldn't do that. You can only have like so many people in a workout. You can actually practice. They can get together. So to me, I want to see a big difference in understanding Coach Wilson's strategies on offense, and then just being a team that's so rangy and athletic that just disrupts every shot that every team takes, and that, you know, that's on every bang and every board, offensive and defensive. I want to see a difference in that regard, and I think that's where now, for me, you're going to see advantages to wins that we can avenge from last year and years past.
Yeah, Mike hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline says, well, I believe they should be a favorite. Years of disappointment have him saying that he'll have to wait to see it on the floor before he gets his hope up that high.
That's what
it should be. Yeah, don't put the pressure on them. Yeah. But legitimately, that pressure is going to be there. And you just mentioned the key thing. They don't control whether that's there or not. But they can, the fact that they have veterans there that with more experience, that's going to be the key to them being able to handle it or not.
Yeah, and you got to go into it too, man. You got games that, I mean, you know, think about their losing record, or I'm gonna say our losing record against like Wisconsin and the Purdue's, and I mean, you have an opportunity. To me, those are the differences right there. You win 3 or 4 games, this coming season, that you typically lose against. You win 3 or 4 of those, you're in a whole different bracket of mindset. Your thought set pattern changes, and you never know now what can happen. Then you got to also avenge our showing in the postseason. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, but you can look at, we don't really do too well in the postseason as a Big Ten, so we got some work to do. I mean, you know, I'm hoping, you know, I mean, nothing against it. I'm just hoping we stay off the Instagram and the Twitters on showing our bodies in the weight room, which is, you know, it's inevitable. It's inevitable, you know, whatever, man, you know. But I'm just, you know, showing workouts and highlights and clips, and, you know, we're in the gym grinding. That's great, but I mean,
just do it.
Unseen hours, man.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
I don't need to see that. Just do it.
Unseen hours.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it. That was great. I don't want blogging, all that crap. I mean, I guess you got to do it for NIL reasons. I don't know, but just go do it.
You know, they were close to being exactly where you're talking about last season. There were some games that they lost that I hate the word lose or use the word shouldn't, because maybe there's no such words as shouldn't in sports. Sports is what it is. But there were games that they could have won. I will say that they didn't. Both Wisconsin games, as we know, the Penn State game, Syracuse, and there's a couple others, but that's enough right there to greatly affect the record and to look at them as a completely different team. But they did not get that job done, and they didn't get it done for a reason. And to me, that's the difference. Can they change that, alter that this season? One of the reasons, though, is shooting. And while Trace Jackson Davis coming back makes this team extraordinarily strong and a great recruiting class, they still, have they solved the issue of shooting, or is this going to be solved by committee? Can CJ Gunn step up? I don't know. Is Miller Kopp all of a sudden going to feel less pressure and succeed more? But they still have to be able to shoot the ball.
Yes, and we now have a body of work with intentionality that the coaching staff and everybody, all hands on deck, that can break down the second half of basketball play for us. We have a body of work. I can say, I mean, just assuming a lot of what I would think of Coach Woodson went through was really just shooting by the gun, because you don't know the pattern of your team, the makeup of your team. I think they were learning. I think it was all a learning aspect from everybody. Now you have a whole season of your own film watching, of games you had experience with. Now that's direct insight that now they can say, man, we got to get better the second half. What was it? Let's find that missing link, create a remedy at your routine, and that's what our summer workout's going to be around. We got to be in better shape. We got to come out the first 5 minutes like locked in on defense. You got your scoring back. You got your 20+ points a game. You got that back. right? And everybody else is going to be about the others, as Shaq and Charles Barkley calls them. They're going to have to be about committing until somebody steps up and give you, Xavier going to give you 10, 12, 15, right? But we got to get consistent scoring where there's consistent pressure to relieve the Miller Kops and the CJ Guns to have open looks to shoot with confidence. And then to me, it's the makeup of the second half. Can we get better at and show that noticeable difference at the beginning of the season? We'll see that that's our identity. We come out the second half as good as we come out the first half.
Yeah, Trace Jackson Davis and Ed hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline says Trace Jackson Davis and Ed Bako from North Carolina wanting an ACC Big Ten Challenge game in Indiana, North Carolina, what they're campaigning for, and that's great. That's where you want to see Indiana again, because that's kind of been missing. Even when Indiana hasn't been Indiana, they still wanted it to be Indiana and Duke and all that because they know Indiana draws. Well, now it's going to be a big draw. You've got two potential players of the year right there that we could potentially see in a game, because we know that they like to do that. And let's see, where did Indiana? They played on the road last year, right? In the ACC Big Ten Challenge,
they played Syracuse, right?
That's right. So they'll get to play at home. So, man, can you imagine North Carolina getting North Carolina at home? That you add North Carolina to Kansas to Arizona. Their schedule has just done a 180, the preseason schedule. And that's also big part of getting Indiana back into the national picture. But yeah, seeing a game like that, Ed, I agree with you, but they've got to be ready for it. They've got to be ready for it, and they're certainly getting close. I just don't know about shooting this year because they haven't added anyone other than CJ Gunn, who's a freshman. Now, I think Xavier is going to – he did a lot of scoring for a point guard. Hopefully some of that can be relieved. You don't want your point guard having to score as much as he did, but it's also a benefit because that sure makes him a threat, Charlie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It does, but that also makes me wonder, like, a lot of times I watched him play, watching film myself, it was just he had no choice. There was 10 seconds left on the shot clock, and I have to get a shot off, right? So that's where I'm hoping that can be distributed now, to other players. He's more of a quarterback on the team than that second leading score.
Which is big time, which is what Indiana has to have. Let's see, make sure we're not over break. No, we're good. But regardless, they're looking in good shape. It's a lot more. It should be a lot more fun for the fans heading into this offseason. Unfortunately, they may go a little crazy with their hopes are going to go out of the roof. I think fans. Someone mentioned earlier the disappointment that they've had for the last couple of years. Don't let your expectations get too high, man. Get there. Don't push them there. Let them get there and just follow them along on the ride is how I think it should be, Charlie.
No, man, you gotta listen. You pretty much you don't have the team you had 4 years ago. You got a whole new coaching staff to meet because of the head coach, and you can't take their former experience and all of a sudden place them to me. You can't place them in the top, 5, top 3. No, it's going to have to be a show and go and prove over the season. It's going to have to be, and we're going to always have high expectations. You know who we are.
That's right.
I moved from Bloomington to Dallas, man. Every year the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I see it. I hear it all the time. I see banners, preseason, this, that. I mean, and then it's just a letdown. So I'm hoping that we can just, learn our lesson from, nothing against the IU football team last year. Let's not get too much hoopla and about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Let it happen. Just let it happen.
Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Charlie Miller with us here, Jim Coyle, as always. And we'll talk a little bit of PGA when we come back just a little bit, because, Charlie, you almost had back-to-back PGA winners from the Dallas area. Didn't happen, but it was a hell of a match. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant in Bloomington, Patterson and Rogers. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Okay.
How's Charlie doing?
Not bad, man. Not bad at all.
What Oh, where are you headed to next?
I will be next trip is Anchorage, Alaska.
Oh man,
when is that?
That is is it June 2nd? So
okay,
about a week from now.
Man, have you ever been to Alaska?
Yes. Played in the Alaskan shootout. And what I look forward to, because we really didn't explore.
Which is probably because you didn't have time, because that was Knight's thing.
Yeah, but that was Coach Knight. And I would hear all kind of stories from other players. We go places and we go, hang out at the mall, and I appreciate what Coach Knight used to do. But I look to, get there, explore, man. Explore a little bit.
So 2017 was the last year they had that.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Shootout. Yeah. Did it?
Let me tell you the difference. Let me tell you the difference in the Great Alaskan Shootout. It went from having, when it first started, North Carolina State, Kentucky, North Carolina,
UConn,
Louisville. These are winners. NC State, North Carolina, Arizona, Seton Hall, Michigan State, UCLA, Purdue, Minnesota, Duke, Kentucky. The last 2 years, the winners. The last 4, 5, 6 years, the winners: Murray State, Charlotte, Harvard, Colorado State, Middle Tennessee, Iona, and Central Michigan.
Got it.
It's because they have all these new classics and tournaments now.
It lost its cachet.
Yeah.
People would rather go to the Bahamas than Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah, that's right.
You think?
Yep. Fun and sun.
Hey, there ain't no lie about that, man.
Man.
But it's a cool old tournament.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Alaska. It's just cold, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market. BB's Market is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live, with some of the best custom meats around, as well as the largest variety of in-house made products. You can reach out to them at visitbbsmarket.com, and they can send it directly to you, just like that place out in Omaha. But you're supporting those who support Indiana athletics. So make sure you sign up for the WOW Club as well. You can just go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. It's totally free. Sign up for it. Start earning WOW rewards today. And you're a big help to us. Charlie Miller with us. Headed off to Alaska next, right?
Yes, sir.
We were just talking in the break about the now defunct Great Alaskan Shootout that used to be around. It ended in 2017 after 40 years. You were fortunate to play in that event.
I was my sophomore year. We played against Alaska.
What year would that have been?
That's 95, 96.
So that Iowa was Duke there in Iowa.
I remember we played against. They may have been, but I remember the teams we played against. It was Anchorage, Alaska, first game, and then UConn, second game, and memorable to me because I had to guard Ray Allen.
Yeah, well, he had of UConn, right, who ended up being. How about this? I'll tell you how bad Ray Allen was, and by bad I mean badass. Duke wins it 88-81 over Iowa, and guess who the MVP was?
Ray Allen.
Ray Allen.
Yeah. He put on himself.
Team didn't even make the finals. I don't know that I've ever seen that in my life.
Yeah.
Of a tournament MVP. Normally they always come from the winning team. Right. Rarely do they come from the losing team. I have never seen one come from a team that didn't make a finals of an event.
Yeah, I experienced it. Trust me. That was a good lesson. Lesson of learning on how to play defense.
Scott Bird of Iona accomplished that in 81 at that same tournament. But I'm looking down through there, man, that just doesn't happen. But that's Ray Allen. That was a bad dude, man. Talk about playing against Ray Allen.
Hey, when you're getting triple screened, double screened, pushed, prodded, and you get called for fouls, you got a special person, as we know now, his post NBA career. But that was just a learning lesson, man. A really good learning lesson for me on guarding, players at that level that just relentless. Wait, his confidence, courage, looking for his teammates. His teammates, have full confidence in him. It's amazing experience.
Let's see. I was talking about. The PGA this weekend. I don't know if we talked some golf. You're picking it up, but Dallas was almost home to back-to-back majors winners. With daggone, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. The kid, Zalatoris. Will Zalatoris, who had the 36-hole lead, and this is the first time in 7 PGAs, and I can't remember if it was at that location or just period, the winner after 36 holes had always won this event, and he ended up making it into a playoff, mainly because Mito Pereira, who had held the lead from Chile on the 18th hole, man, he pulls the double. He pulls out he 10 caps it. Double bogey, ends up with a 6, and he's out of contention. And then 2 guys sneak up and for a playoff. Justin Thomas from Louisville, right down the road from here, and Will Zalatoris from Texas there. And Justin Thomas ends up coming out victorious for his second PGA Tour win. But what an exciting golf match that was yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't, because I was in the gym, but I'm an avid golf fan and excited to play more and more as I get into the summer and I travel. But yeah, we have some unbelievable golfers here, man, that I'm recognizing, that have played in the PGA for a long time.
Yeah, it's just fun stuff. And speaking of golf, I think I've already asked you, are you going to be around June 23rd? Where are you scheduled to be then?
I know I'm not. Oh yeah, you talked about Jordan Halls, right? He has a he has his I forget where I would be, but I know I would not be in town. I'll be on the road.
But you can certainly join us if you're out there listening. Throw it up there, John. The Never Lose Hoop golf outing. Jordan Halls' Never Lose Hoop golf outing for his foundation. This completely 100% proceeds all benefit the Never Lose Hoop Foundation that goes to area kids with cancer. But you can play in this, get yourself a group together, or you can be a sponsor. You can sponsor a hole for just $100, and we'll get a picture with Jordan and some others to send to you. But there's going to be plenty of people here. Cody Zeller's playing in this event. I don't want to say it officially, but there's going to be a heavy IU basketball presence. If you get my my meaning, Coach Woodson can't play in this event because it's the last day of his day camp, but he'll be there. He'll be speaking there, a guest speaker, as well as many others. And I'm trying to put that together, see who all, maybe Tom Allen and everyone else. But it's going to be a hell of a day, regardless. Come out and have fun. Here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point, it's only $125. So all of that goes, like I said, it's a great cause. And it'll be a hell of a lot of fun. And this thing's just going to grow. So get in now. I may have to start I'll help them start if you're in now, you get first option for joining in the future, because I think this thing is going to grow tremendously. We got to get Charlie up here to play in that thing, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm going to tell you this. I mean, I think it's going to grow tremendously as well because of this new role he just accepted with IU basketball team, right?
Absolutely.
And that's amazing, man. So, hats off to him. I know we hadn't talked about it, but congratulations on him taking on that recruiter coordination position. So I'm hoping that they get 25,000 more people, right, to show up.
Now, do you know Jordan? Have you?
I do not. I just watched him play. I was a fan of him as he played, but I don't know him.
Crossover years, and that's another reason why it's just another opportunity to bring players together that have not met, right. which is awesome, and I love to use on this show, as a matter of fact, and so try to do that as often as possible. I just saw something that a couple times that I wanted to bring up that's just kind of funny. Not funny to her, but yesterday, Sage Steele apparently hit by John Rahm's golf ball from his tee shot. Went to the hospital, will need dental work.
Oh my God.
There was a player that got hit on the head off of someone's tee shot. And I mean, he was fine, but can you imagine those tee shots traveling? And he probably thought that he was good to hit the tee shot, which means they were probably over 300 yards. Just incredible.
Oh man. I mean, the nerves of the fans that stand in the gallery.
I saw someone had I forget who it was. It may have been Justin Thomas, but he had a shot that had come just off of a side tent, and they just had the rope there, and whoever shot it was, and there's maybe 5 feet to the right where that line of people standing. And I'm like, if that was me, you're out of your effing mind. I'm like, I've been hitting the ball a lot better, but every so often you lose that momentary. It just takes a momentary lapse of focus on that ball. And if that thing squirts right, baby, whoo.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I can't wait to get you up here to play.
I don't mean to. I'm not laughing at
I can laugh at it because it's true. It's true.
I'm just saying, like, to be in that gallery.
Oh my God!
They hit it. Yeah, man. No way. I'm sorry. No way. Yeah. They're human, just like me.
The thing is, though, I've never seen anyone get hit close up. It's usually the further shots, like we're just talking about.
Right.
They usually don't miss it that badly.
Right.
So I guess they're good, but I do think that if there was that much pressure on me, someone like me,
Oh,
I'm not going to screw that one up. I'm going to focus so hard. It may not go very far. I may end up slicing or hooking it, but I'm getting that ball out of there. I am not hitting somebody within 10 feet of me.
I know I'm pulling out a club. I'm pulling
I
out
promise you.
about a 6.
Yeah, I'm making sure this thing is getting out where it needs to go, man.
Yes.
But it is getting to be that time of season. Do you get to? I guess you don't get to take your clubs with you because you're busy all during the day wherever you travel.
Oh no, I do. Last year I had to seek help because I was playing too much. I would get up in the morning, try to play 9, get up about 6:30, play 9, go to a camp from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. After 3 p.m., get something to eat, go back to the course about 4 p.m. until 8. And I was at it. I was having a lot of fun. I'm by myself, so I mean, it's just instead of going to the mall or sitting around the hotel, I was going to some great places with great weather. So I was just out and about, meeting people on the course. You know how it goes, man. On the course, meeting people, hanging out a little bit, playing with them. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So all right. So coming up, we were talking a little bit about Indiana basketball, and I just saw someone mention roles for. Well, I lost it, but I know it was for people like Anthony Leal, Logan Duncombe. Man, I don't unless Anthony has a great summer and is able to elevate his level of play. I don't see any more minutes for those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's going to be sparing. I think they're going to be role players until they can step up and show more than that. Which again, everyone's going to do their part. Everyone's not going to be what you were coming out of high school. I mean, that's not realistic. I think stepping up, understanding now what's needed from you, because that changes a lot of time, season to season. That changes. So what might have been asked of Logan coming out of high school is a little different now coming to his second year, second or third year. So the role changes. So I think it's to be determined by what Coach Woodson and the staff want to see from him. And then there's no pressure. Just go. I mean, only pressure comes from within, because you might want to get back to those glory days of high school, scoring 25, 30. That may not be real, and it's okay. So I think that's the expectations that, for me, at least I have for Logan and Anthony Leo. Just do what's asked of you in your role to the very best of your ability.
But the great thing is they've got plenty of new people that are going to have roles. I saw someone earlier ask about substitution patterns, and I don't know what he's going to do, but I do know that if he wants to continue to substitute in mass like we've seen him do at times, he at least has better personnel to do that with, and I think he has better personnel which he can mix to do that with. But as far as sending in an entire second, I'm just not bought in on sending in an entire second unit, because too many times we saw other teams use that by leaving their better players in and getting an advantage there.
Yeah, and who knows why? Was that a game? Was that a send a message, to the starters to get, life from the bench, to give those guys confidence? Who knows? But you can also look at that as probably a first year coach learning curve, right? Because to me, again, you have a pattern of work. When you did it, it was not successful. So you have an opportunity now to really understand that may not be the best of our showing. Might be 2 at a time to kind of give minutes here there, but I don't know if you could do 5 in, 5 out.
Well, Charlie Miller, I guess next time we talk to you, will you be on the way to Alaska or not just yet?
Not yet. So next week, is that next week Memorial Day, right?
It's Memorial Day. We will
right.
probably not have a show.
That's right. I did not think of that. I'm not accustomed to thinking that far ahead, man. That's 7 whole days.
I know. I know.
That's beyond Tuesday, man. I can't. My brain doesn't have that.
I knew that.
Well, so we won't get to talk to you until you were in or at Alaska. It looks like. So you should go out on one of those boats and do some crab fishing, man.
I have a shellfish allergy, Jim. Not smart.
No, it would not work out. Well, have fun, man. We appreciate it as always. Looking forward to it. Charlie Miller, the great Charlie Miller, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Brought to you by our great friends at BB's Marketplace. BB's, of course, is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer. No matter where you live, some of the best custom meats around and the biggest variety of in-house products, 40 sausages. Visit bbsmarket.com. Back with Indiana Sports Beat Radio and Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out. The birds are... Hello, Mr. Dustin Dopirak.
Good morning, Jim. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Charlie, by the way.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Appreciate it. How you doing, Dustin? How you doing, man?
Good, Charlie. How about yourself?
Awesome, brother. Y'all have a good day.
You too,
See you, Charlie.
Buddy.
Yes, sir.
Oh, how are you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. How's your weekend?
Did nothing. I watched it rain. I listened to it and watched it rain and enjoyed every second of it.
Nice. Okay.
Not gonna lie. The windows were open, the fan was going, and I had to turn all that off this morning. It was pretty chilly.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of golf.
Did you?
I do not usually have the opportunity nor desire to watch that much golf.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
It was major.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah. I caught the end of it. Like I said,
You caught the best part of it.
Yeah. I waited for the end. I waited until Twitter was telling me I had to turn it on. So I saw I guess the Perea collapse. I mean, basically, I missed the shot he hit in the water, and then I just I haven't talked about it on air, but I'm like, it was either the PGA or the U.S. Open that Phil Mickelson did the same thing. He hit that damn tent on 18. Oh man, that's what he did. Oh wow.
He was leading the event on 18, and he hits the tent. And it was the same thing. It was doing more than you had to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a Gavin, whatever his character name from Tin Cup was. I'm not a Gavin type player either, that playing but sometimes that's exactly what you do. And that's what you do on that hole. And neither of them did it. And they both lost. But man, this dude, it
it's rough. It was a rough deal, man. It was rough.
It's not just a tournament; it's a major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one sticks with you.
Oh,
that one you don't forget.
I seen if that's me, I'm in therapy like that night. that night, I'm gonna have to have an emergency meeting. How was your week?
I feel like if you're a golfer and a good one at that level, you almost need a therapist to keep you sane in the first place, because it's just like it's all mental and it's all you, and it's not a team thing where you can just say, okay, I'm just going to do my job and that's it. It's
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and it looks a little cloudy, remnant from this weekend, but we're going to brighten it up with Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. About yourself?
Easy. It had an easy, lazy weekend. It was rainy and nasty. I just stayed in and watched the PGA, which ended up turning out to be an exciting ending. It looked like it was going to be a runaway with a guy that has never won and most people had not heard of. And then all of a sudden he has just an unbelievable collapse on 18 with that shot into the creek and then opened a door for the two Americans. Of course, Justin Thomas from 80 miles away in Louisville and Zala Harris from Dallas, who was talking to Charlie Miller earlier. Dallas was poised to have back-to-back major champions, which is nuts.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. But then the finish was wild, and Justin Thomas hangs on to win it, and kind of improbable, his second PGA title. So he has two majors now. Like I said, he's from 80 miles away from here, man. So congratulations to him. And his dad, I think the coolest thing that they had made this out to be, because this was the PGA championship, and they take great pride in the PGA membership and the PGA pros around the country. His dad's a PGA pro in Louisville.
Right.
And so, and there was, I think that there was another one they were talking about, but yeah, they really made that out to be a big thing, but it big win. That's a gigantic paycheck too, man.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, a big that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm like, wow, what do you win, about 1.2 or 4? I haven't even seen it. I just know they're fat.
That's pretty life-changing money for a weekend. I mean, obviously nothing like the majors has those kind of payouts, but wow. I mean, some kind of turn. Obviously, Thomas is a pretty strong player to start with, but obviously I only caught a little bit of it. I caught, I guess, the end half of the collapse by Pereira. I don't know.
Close enough.
One way or another. I turned the ball, turned it on to see the ball in the water. Like, that's the first image that went on my TV screen of golf the entire weekend, to be totally honest. And I was like, okay, well, this is about to be interesting. And then I saw him miss, basically just be a little bit off on the next two shots, just enough for that to turn into a double bogey and play himself out of a playoff. So that was kind of wild. And I sort of half watched the playoff, but that was something else. That's one that's going to sting for a long time. Obviously, I mean, I think, it could be worse. Obviously, you only go when you have a one-shot lead. Like, it's going to mess you up, but it's not like, I don't know, Van de Velde or something like that. Like, there are next level collapses that you've seen. But I guess Thomas came back from 8 back.
Well, at one point he was 8 strokes back. They listed
when was that on Sunday, or was that?
I don't know, because they listed as a 7. Yeah, it wasn't, because Sunday, I guess he was only 7 strokes back entering the day. So it must have been
a lot on a day, man. Wow.
It is crazy.
I wasn't sure if that was a 2-day thing or a 1-day thing. If that's a 1-day comeback, that's remarkable.
I bet the 8 stroke was just one day before, though, because at one point I know that Mito was at -9 is as far deep as I saw him get. I thought Rory was going to make a charge. He had like 4 straight birdies, and it was just fun to watch. That stuff is fun to watch. So we had that in there, and someone kind of local winning, which is kind of cool. I mean, this is a big golf area. Lots going on. And speaking of golf, I was talking about Jordan Hall's golf event coming up June 23rd here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point. Hope
he's got a golf event too. Jordy Hulse does everything.
Well, it had been suspended, and they brought it back. Actually, it was brought back before he took the position with Indiana. We have just started working on this.
He's been doing this never lose hoop thing for a long time.
Yeah, so but now it works out that he'll get to be here and stay here for it, so that'll be great going forward. Looking forward to that. Of course, big news over the weekend, or not over the weekend, but Friday came out after we were off the air that Trace Jackson Davis is officially returning. Nothing's surprising to me per se, But now Indiana's roster is set. The fans know what they're going to have. We know what they're going to have. The coaches know what they're going to have. And now they have to go in and start working with this group. How much difference does this lineup, or not lineup, but the personnel they have?
Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot. This guy could be player of the year, Big Ten player of the year. I mean, I think I know Andy Cass was throwing around national player of the year. I mean, I think that's a little much. So, that's probably taken a little bit far, but the whole, I think the entire all Big Ten first team is right now in the draft and expected to stay there. Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey, Johnny Davis, EJ Liddell, Kofi Coburn, all 5 of those guys are in the draft, and it doesn't seem like any of them are leaving. Obviously, Murray, Ivey, and Davis are probably going to be lottery picks. Definitely Murray and Ivey for sure. So you're looking at, obviously, he moves up basically as being one of the most impactful players in the league, in the Big Ten. So that's huge. When you have a guy at that level, that puts you in a position to win every night. And obviously he's put them in a lot of good positions throughout his career. I mean, they're a different team the last 3 years, so they don't have him. Basically, I mean, they're a significantly worse team if you take him out of there. He's been their leading scorer each of the last 3 years, probably the biggest, best rebounder each of the last 3 years. Obviously, it's a big deal when you get to keep somebody like that. It certainly raises your ceiling a whole heck of a lot. I mean, I think they had a chance to still be good even if he left, but that would have put a lot of onus on the league right now, because that would have been, he probably would have been the guy who had been starting the 5, unless you threw Race Thompson in there and forced him to play the 5 and be just really undersized there. I mean, obviously, he's been able to hang there in the past, but it's different taking a couple minutes there to give Trace a break and opposed to starting there. And so it would have been harder for him to score, at the level that he has been at the 4. So that, it obviously, again, it raises the ceiling. It gives you an all-American caliber player at the 5. It makes you a lot better. Now, obviously, you look at the rest of the roster, and say, okay, well, how much better are they going to be? So it has a chance. Obviously, it comes down to a lot of guys making a leap. It comes down to freshmen being able to contribute immediately, particularly Hood-Schifino and Reno. But they have a crack at it. I mean, I think they're a preseason top 20 team. I think that's where you're going to see them, as someone in the top 20. I'd be surprised to see them higher than 15. And I certainly would not expect, you're not going into this hanging, national, title. You're not, it's not to say it's not possible, but yeah, there's not 6 banner expectations here on this group. I mean, that would be above and beyond the expectation, because you still have flaws with this group here. Again, you go back to some of the same issues that we've been talking about for years about Indiana rosters. There are not proven shooters. There are not enough of them. Anyway, I mean, again, the guys that they come back, they don't have anybody who hit 40 last year.
That's my take. This team, he mentioned the championship. I don't see them. They can win a Big Ten championship, yes, because I look back at last year, I'm like, wow, that could have gone a lot of different ways. But sure. I've been saying exactly what you're talking about. They still do not have a proven shooter, and that does not change things from last year. They did not have a proven shooter last year, although they have much better personnel in different positions. They still don't. But is this something that maybe gets done by committee this year instead? Is there less pressure on Miller Kopp for some reason, and he has a better year? I can see that happening. There seemed like there was a ton of pressure on him to produce instantly, and I don't know that he handled that pressure well. And maybe there's less pressure on him, more talk of these other guys, especially with the incoming recruiting class, and it spreads out that a little bit. And you get 1 or 2 from Xavier, you get 1 or 2 from Jalen Hood-Schifino. Now all of a sudden that pressure is relieved a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at it this way, like their starting lineup had 1 creator and 2 catch and shoot guys. So that's really, I mean, that's really the difference. Is like you're looking at a situation where both of those guys needed someone else to create space for them. Between Stewart and Kopp, they did not get a lot done on the bounce. So like 2 of your 3 guards, and at the end of the day, small forward is a guard. And the way this position is operating in the modern day game, like the 4 is almost a perimeter position, but really what it's kind of shifted down to is the 4 is really what the 3 used to be, and the 3 is really what the 2 used to be, and the 2 is still the same in terms of how it functions across basketball at this point. So the thing is they had 2 guys that were they had 2 guys who were catch and shoot guys, and the only guy who could create anything off the bounce is Xavier Johnson. So as far as pressure coming off, I think one way that happens is almost whoever starts at the 2. If Kopp is the 3, now again, there's a good chance that Kopp doesn't win the 3, that the Kopp just comes off the bench. That's certainly a thing that could possibly happen. But if you presume Xavier Johnson is your starting point guard, all of the guys who you would say are up for the starting shooting guard position are guys who at least have a high school pedigree of being able to create off the dribble. That means Jalen Hood-Schifino. That means Trey Galloway. That means Tamar Bates. I would say those are the 3 possibilities, the 3 real possibilities. CJ Gunn. I mean, throw in the wild card there just in case that he could step in as a true freshman and blow everybody's doors off, and he's way farther along than you're expecting to be out of the gate. Like unless somehow it's Anthony Leal, which I mean, again, God love Anthony Leal, and I think he can certainly make a contribution. I don't mean this to be dismissive of Anthony Leal, but right now I would not put the odds very high on the starting 2 and 3 being Anthony Leal and Miller Kopp. So as long as it's not that, it's guys that can create off the bounce. Somebody who can move and potentially guys who can move and shoot. So if guys like that, if you have a Tamar Bates if he turns into what he was at IMG and what he was at Piper High School in Kansas City, if he becomes that guy that he was built to be, then yeah, a guy like that takes pressure off Miller Kopp. If Jalen Hood-Schifino is there right away, is what you want him to be right away, and he's backup point guard, but he's also a 2 playing alongside, and you basically have sort of a 2 point guard scenario there, then you've got 2 guys that can create off the bounce. And so they both create opportunities, and they both obviously can find Kopp in those positions. Miller Kopp's not going to change. You're not there are guys that can, get closer to their ceilings. Like Tamar Bates can be a much different player, I think, as a sophomore than he was as a freshman. Miller Kopp's not going to be a different guy. Okay. Like Miller Kopp is who he is. Now he can create more volume. He can hit at a higher clip. He's going to be a catch and shoot guy. It's just creating more and better opportunities for him to get catch and shoot opportunities and him get into more of a groove. Like his percentage can go up a little bit. He can get a few by way of volume, but those are going to have to be created for him. But there's more guys who can be creators. And I think obviously Johnson is just creating at a higher level anyway than he was at the beginning of last season. If he continues to play at the level that he was at, that he's going to create more shots for Kopp than he was for the bulk of this season. And I think you saw him really do a good job of finding Kopp down the stretch. There were some that Kopp just missed. Which was classic because Johnson started throwing up threes as soon as Kopp would put it up. And when Kopp would miss, you would see Johnson just get openly devastated so that everybody could see it and practically shame Miller Kopp for missing a 3 when Johnson set him up. But the bottom line is he's got guys that are going to be able to create space for him and give him good looks. So I think that changes the game a lot. It has potential for making things a lot easier on him. Just there's going to be a lot of guys who, again, via high school pedigree, by what we saw from them at previous levels, have the ability to be, multi-level scorers, but also guys that can create space with the dribble. And so, again, that changes Miller Kopp's situation.
Forrest said this is exactly what I've been saying. A top 3 in the Big Ten in the second weekend of the NCAA. That should be the ceiling of your expectations and let it go from there. Whatever happens. But yeah, I expect Indiana to be in the top 3 from the Big Ten. I expect them to have a very good shot to make the second weekend. So, but
yeah, it'll come down to matchups.
Don't talk about championships. Don't stop thinking about championships. You have to let that stuff come. Just right. You have to you got to let that come to you and get to that point. But don't set yourself up for failed expectations.
Specifically. I don't. I think we national media and then it trickles down to us, end up bagging on Indiana fans a lot for, like, why are you guys so unrealistic? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? And I didn't forget Tamar Bates, Chris Lewis. I did not forget Tamar Bates. Come on now.
I may forget him a little bit. I probably don't talk about him enough. He is a guy that we don't know what to expect. This could be a big year. We don't know what his freshman to sophomore leap is going to be. And he's kind of an X factor. I mean, he could be a guy that comes out and we're like, oh, hell, look at this.
No, I mean, and I don't think, like, shoot, I wrote, like, I don't know, 5,000 words on this last year. Don't trust me. I delved fully into the potential of a Tamar Bates leap. And I mean, I have just, talked to all his high school coaches. Basically, obviously, he went to Piper. He had 2 coaches at Piper, and then his coach at IMG. The potential for this guy is huge. And I think you saw some flashes last year. He just had a stretch of a slump where he just couldn't put the ball in the bucket. Just nothing went right for him, but you see the physical capability. He can break people down off the dribble. He cares about defense. I mean, I think he got caught up in a couple situations. Like playing at the college level was a little different for him. I mean, he got hit by some screens that he wasn't expecting, but he's a guy that cares about that. He has a lot of length. He has a lot of athleticism. He can absolutely make a leap. I mean, I think he's one of the guys that has the biggest potential to take a biggest step. I expect development from him. I expect him to come in this summer, and I expect that he's already done it this spring. I mean, I'm sure he hasn't been just sitting around waiting for June 1st to get here. I'm sure that he's been looking at this and saying, man, freshman year wasn't what I expected it to be, but I learned some things and I'm going to focus on those things and how to fix them and how to get better, and believe in that. But it's just like, I mean, everywhere you've seen it at his level, I mean, like him, I think he shot a touch under 34% from the field. That's obviously really, really not good for a guard. But that doesn't track with anything he's ever done before, and I know it's high school, it's college, whatever, it's a leap, but he's got a lot of really good potential. And I do think he's one of those guys that if it comes together for him, he can raise the ceiling a whole lot. And like I said, I think he's one of those guys that can create, for Miller Kopp, as a 2, but he can just flat win the 3 job. I think a really good potential backcourt is Xavier Johnson, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and Tamar Bates. Those 3 together are absolutely something that I think could happen and could work. And I think he can be that guy. I don't think there's any question about it. So yeah,
it could be wicked too.
Trust me, if there's anyone who's sleeping on Tamar Bates, it is not me.
We got to take a quick break. Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times is with us, brought to you by our good friends at Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. Make sure you reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Also, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB, or give Dustin a follow as well. And if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button, please. It helps us immensely. Hello to everybody down in Evansville listening to us on the Ref 97.7 The Ref. Hope you guys are having a great day on the river. We're back with more from Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
All right. Yeah, Dustin, instead of doing one giant segment with you, we decided just to split into 2 smaller ones.
That's cool. No, we're good.
Works better.
My apologies. I disappeared briefly because my dog just got stuck or got her leash stuck in the air conditioner. So, so she's good.
Nice. We've got Simply Safe as well. I recognize the noise.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we carried it with us, actually. It was we had to get one at our old apartment, basically, and then like originally it was sort of like built in, but then they told us we could buy our own.
Huh.
So that was sort of an interesting move, but we did and brought it with us, and it's good.
Nice.
So. Our one issue is the cat set off the motion detector a couple times. So we don't have a cat, but we've got a dog, and it worries me that
that'll eventually happen whenever it doesn't need to.
Yeah, if you're letting him run around, him or her, I don't know if you.
It's a she.
If they're running around free when you're gone, it has that potential. And it's just where you put it. And so our big issue was like I put it by the front door, but in both cases the stairs were in sort of eyesight of the motion detector. So I think that's what happened in both cases. And so since I've moved the motion detector now, I put the motion detector in the place where it's not the best, but it can't pick up the cat now. So
that's good.
Now, like I'm concerned it doesn't pick up everything else that could come in, but it doesn't pick up the cat anymore.
There you
go. Man, I subscribe to the Indy Star, but I cannot get it on my computer because I cannot remember my sign in. I try to call in. They can't find it. It's on my phone at least. It drives me nuts.
Yep. It's the whole subscription thing is tough. The people that it's not quite the same as
you can't get a hold of anybody.
Literally come to the HT office and knock on the door, and so like,
is there anybody there?
Questions. What's that?
I didn't know there was even anybody there anymore.
I mean, we go from time to time. We still have the office, but
I know it's there.
It's not open like you're not supposed to. Like there used to be, a lobby that was open to the public,
right?
And so people now go where that used to be and just knock the window and see if anybody's in there. But I mean, we have an office that we can hang out in and work from and stuff like that. I mean, we just carry laptops in there pretty much. There's a couple people that have sort of multiple screens, but I'll go there whenever I come down to Bloomington.
I'm trying to find your Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Mohonda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. I hope you're settled in from a relaxing weekend. Not a lot going on. Big weekend coming up as the Indy 500 is this week. Dustin Dopirak with me from the Bloomington Herald Times. Are you going to the 500?
I am not.
I'm not either this year. I had planned on it and then at the last second changed my mind.
Yeah. Wild event, man. I haven't been yet. We went to the NASCAR race last year.
I have not. I'd love to see that on the track. And Chase Briscoe almost won that race. Maybe should have won that race.
That thing was crazy. That was nuts. I mean, I'm not a racing guy at all. I don't have any racing background whatsoever. But you live in Indianapolis, you can't not go there. It's like at some point you have to see it. It's because it's like the eighth wonder of America. You know what I mean? Like it is mind blowing to think of something that's just that big. It's just so huge, and it's just.
So, what was the NASCAR road race like there at Indianapolis last year?
Yeah, it's wild. So we stayed by, I guess you'd call it the first turn, where right by the flags where they and so when it comes to NASCAR, obviously they have to kind of break and just do kind of a turn around that. So we were by there because we didn't know. I mean, we had no sense of where we were supposed to go. I mean, we got free tickets or something. But it was wild to watch. Just like them have sort of break around that turn. And then what happened was, they had some kind of caution flag or whatever, and they had to restart it 5 times. And okay, now I understand what's been going on. Sorry, my cat got himself stuck in the cupboard. It's just I didn't know he did that. I had no idea why that was hitting, and I didn't realize that he got in there, and I didn't even know it was close. I thought the dog was trying to anyway, a lot going on with the animals this morning. But yeah, no, there was some kind of they had 4 or 5 restarts, and they got in a crash every single time because if you make it, everybody, I think they had only 5 laps to go or whatever, so everybody's jockeying for position. They get around that turn and everybody's knocking themselves out, and so there was I don't know, a half an hour, 45 minutes worth of action in which all it was they get around one turn and then they wreck each other, and it was something crazy. But it's definitely, I mean, wow, it's obviously a fun thing to watch, and it's a cool place to be in whatever event you're watching there. It's a cool thing, even if you're not into racing at all. And I am not a person who has probably ever watched 5 minutes of a race on television. But it's a cool scene, whatever you're doing. And just, I'm just looking forward to Indianapolis this week. It's just fun to be here and just see the build up and everything like that, and just see
it is the largest spectator sport in the world. It's amazing to say that.
It is.
But a couple of years ago, when the 100th running was happening, and that was a big event, and there were so many. What they end up with, like 330,000 people were out there. That's 1% of the United States' population, right?
So 1%? No, 3 million would be 1% because it's like 330 million. So it's 0.1%. If it's 330,000, because
okay,
330 million, then 3 million would be 1%.
It's still amazing to have.
That's still,
it's still amazing to be able to have a percentage of the United States' population. One of the biggest countries, so that's crazy, just nuts. But even and now that it's back down, they're still going to get 200,000+. I know it was just announced they were a little short of the sellout, and we're not expecting to lift the blackout, which really sucks for people that live in the Indy area that aren't going. You don't get. You'll have to figure out which I'm sure by now you figured out a way to get around that to watch the race. But it does stink that people who live in the Indy area don't get to watch the race live.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, again, this is stuff like I'm a relatively new resident, so like I don't understand the rules as far as that's concerned. And for the most part, pandemic rules were different. Obviously, the 1 year where they had nobody there, I know my wife and I watched it at her friend's place, and it just doesn't make any sense to me that it would be like this.
Well, I know that they're trying to increase that, but to me, you're either going to the Indianapolis 500 or you're not. Whether or not it's on television is not your deciding factor. It's not.
Exactly. You either want to be in that or you don't.
Yeah.
And not only that, we either want to spend the money for that or you don't. And so that's the thing. It's either worth it for you or it isn't. And it's like, yeah, you're generally not going to, that's not a reason for me to go. Like if I either want to go or I don't.
Yeah, if you're going to the snake pit, trust me, you're going to the snake pit. You don't give a crap if it's on TV day, baby.
Yeah,
you're there for the snake pit. You're not even going for the race.
No.
If you're going to the snake pit, you're not even going.
You're just in for the madness, and you just hear cars whiz around you every once in a while.
And there's concerts and the party. There's enough there to me that I just don't think TV is going to hurt it, but I understand their right to do that.
Yeah, I get it. I've never liked this whole blackout concept in the first place. I don't like it for team sports either.
Well, like the Indiana Pacers have not been on TV for a while because of the Bally thing, which is just absolutely asinine. Yeah, I can't believe it's drug on this long.
No, me neither. I don't understand the ins and outs of that, and just obviously it's in basketball season, so we got our own team to cover, basically. So I just sort of bang the retweet button on Pacer stuff most of the time. Like I don't get to see too much of them to start with.
NIL and the transfer portal are offering all the crap I need to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. That's enough, but it's just like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, I mean, whatever, like, and I'm sure this isn't the Pacers' call, and it's TV rights, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. But if you are, like if you're the Pacers, you need any avenue people can get to care about this team, and TV's got to be one of them. It's just like you're just trying to involve everybody you can. You're not going to get everybody to spend, $40-$50 a night to come see these guys when they're bad. You got to keep them. You got people interested while it's on TV. So
Robert says the odds are long, but he wouldn't dismiss Jimmy Johnson's chances of winning. Indianapolis is a lot like Daytona: strategy, track position in the last 10 to 15 laps, most of all luck. Yeah, I agree with all of that, except for I do not see Jimmy Johnson I just don't think he's there yet. And I don't know if he's going to get there. There's just slight differences, although he did have the fastest lap in practice at one point last week. So it's not like he's off the grid. But yeah, I mean, of course, yeah, who knows? Somebody can hit their shot into the creek on the 18th. You never know.
Exactly. I mean, it's even more than that in like racing, like a wreck happened at the right time.
Yesterday, Daytona had their all-star race. And Kyle Busch was just kicking everybody's butt. And then all of a sudden he loses a left rear tire and it slows down greatly and just gets creamed at 180 miles an hour from the guy that was in second. And so first, second, and another or three or four of the top guys in that race were out just like that. So things change in a heartbeat, man.
Yes, it does. Yeah, but no, this is one of those things that just totally, I don't have any sense of who. I mean, I just presume that somebody who's used to winning, as much as Jimmy Johnson is used to winning, can find a way. Yeah, like doesn't mean he's gonna do it. Doesn't mean you should put your money on it. Doesn't mean you should bet anything that you can't lose on it. But a guy like that can find a way. It's a different kind of car. It's a different form of driving. I'm sure that there's about 1,000 nuances that go into that. At this race, at this course, getting used to all that is different. But dude knows how to win, and when you know how to win, a lot of times you can find a way. So you can't. A guy like that who's won that much, and he's won just an obnoxious amount. He has a chance. You can't rule a guy like that out.
And we've seen guys who were actually still competing in NASCAR crossover. Kurt Busch did it. I think he had a top 10 finish. And that's on the day that he left and went to Charlotte to race the 600-mile race that night, because there's the NASCAR has their longest race, 600-mile race, the same night of the Indianapolis 500. So he did the double. Tony Stewart has done the double. Robbie Gordon did it a number of times, I think. But I believe that Kurt Busch finished like 6th or something when he did it. Wow. So it's and those guys were actually leaving there to go to Charlotte, where Jimmy Johnson doesn't have to worry about that. He's just focusing on this race. So there's a lot of luck, man. You can't get wrecked. You can't. You talk about the 18th hole. How about oh doggone it? What was the kid's name? He was a rookie a few years ago. Was leading, and on the last lap he hits freaking turn 4.
Yeah.
Gosh, damn.
It could happen, man. And just and again, you're driving a car like what, 250 miles an hour. Stuff happens.
That's another thing. The pole positions.
Yeah,
they were crazy speeds, up to 240. I wrote 243 miles an hour. Connor Daly. That's 243 absurd. Miles. It is absurd. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
It's totally nuts. You can get anything going that fast.
That's basically a rocket on wheels.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, seriously, really a rocket on wheels that you have to turn 180 degrees.
At any given point in time. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's what these guys do. It's crazy. It's terrifying.
I would love to ride in that tandem car though, Dustin. They have Bob really Kravitz, who's on with us. He did it with Mario Andretti.
That's nuts. That's a cool story. And that's perfect to have Bob in there. That's perfect.
I would just get out and say, I'm done. It's over. I mean, what are you going to do after that?
What else? What's going to match that?
You just ran a lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway with Mario Andretti. Get out of here.
Yeah, no,
that's better than getting cussed out by Harry Carey. That's my best. That's my best sports story.
Be proud of that one. Good job.
I promise you, it was awesome.
What did you do to make it happen? That's a question.
Was early on. Was working for CBS and Major League Baseball. The broadcast when I was a little punk, growing up, and this girl that I worked with, who was from Chicago. We were at a game in Cincinnati doing a Cincinnati and Cubs game. And she said, hey, after the game, we should go up to the booth and get Harry's autograph, which I didn't give a crap. I wasn't a Cubs fan, but I'm like, hey, it's a good idea. It's for the heck of it. And I had a friend that was a big Cubs fan. So I grabbed 2 balls off the field before the game and said, oh yeah, we'll do that. So after the game, we go in there and Harry's, done. And of course, he's had his
all
the Cincinnati had a tap in the media room. They had a tap up there in the up there. So anyway, Harry he'd had all the Budweisers he could stand, and there was 4 of us, and I was first in line, and I had 2 balls. And hey, Mr. Carey, how are you? Would you mind signing my ball? And he signs it. And would you mind signing one for a friend of mine? He's a big cup. No, I signed your ball. I got it here. So I'm like, all right. There was only 4 of us, and I'm like, well, he's so drunk. I just went to the end of the line. I'm like, I'll just do it again. He won't remember me.
It, yeah.
Go through. I get up there. Hey, Mr. Carey, would you mind? I signed your ball, you son of a bitch. Now get the hell out of here. That was great. So I'm like going.
That was better than the ball. That's better than getting the signed ball. You get to keep that one.
Yeah, exactly. For the rest of my life, I will never forget. Dustin, what's up next for you, man?
Well, we're obviously going to be talking to Trace today at 3:30, get a better sense of what this is like for him. And I'm obviously really interested in just his experience with this, because you got to feel for the kid. As much as Indiana fans are ecstatic to know that he's coming back and you're going to have your best player, it's basically being right on the precipice of getting an interview with everybody that you want to work for, and in life beyond this, and not being able to go because you got sick. I mean, yeah, but the truth is, I mean, not very, very, very few people thought that he was going to get that opportunity. But you wanted, I mean, you had an invite to be on the floor. You had a jersey that said NBA, like you had your marching orders. You were going to go in there and you were going to get a chance to show off to everybody. And I thought, again, I was saying this from the beginning, whatever he was going to happen, I thought he was going to end up coming back at the end of the day. But if you're him, you want them to tell you to your face what's wrong with you,
right?
What you need to do, what needs to get right. And you want to be able to take back to Indiana, tell them what you guys need to fix. And some of it is you got to be able to make a compelling case to Mike Woodson that says, Mike, I got to shoot threes. I got to find a way. You got to get me some threes. Whatever we got to do in this offense.
Well, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Hit some.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's just, but get him in position to take him. I mean, put him in a position to take him. He can't have his back to the basket the whole time.
Right.
So he needs some opportunities. He needs to get some shots, and he needs they need to come up with a way for this to happen and find a way to do it without screwing up Indiana's season. That's got to be an important thing that they got to do right now. So we'll see what that happens, and how that goes. But if I was him, I think it's just a bummer to not be able to perform in front of them, take a crack at it, and go from there. And that you just have to feel bad for him. I think I feel bad for him. I'm interested to see what he has to say, interested to see and how he sees this going forward. Because again, the NBA issue has been the same this whole time. He's had to prove he can shoot. He's got three 3-point opportunities his whole career. So that's where we stand.
Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times joining us here. Thank you so much as always, man. Greatly appreciate you. Make sure you give him a follow and be a subscriber. I am. Hey, we've got more coming up. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com, Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana as well. Dustin, have a great day, brother. We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Cabello Italian Heritage, located right on the square in Bloomington. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, buddy.
Dustin.
Appreciate you. See you in a little bit. See you in a little bit, I guess.
What's going on, guys?
Well, just another peachy day in paradise. How are y'all?
Good. No complaint.
JW or Jim, do you know Kyler? Kyler, do you know Jim?
Yeah, I know Jim.
I just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah. Former head coach of my best friend, Bronson Kessinger.
Who?
Hey, Reamer, I think your mic's off. Yeah, there we go. I can't hear you. You're not muted on here either, so it's something on your end. Maybe, honestly, if you have everything set up properly, sometimes it's just as simple as going out and coming back in. Mike has that problem sometimes.
Is it better now?
Oh, yep, there you go.
Well,
yeah. Just had to change the setting.
Perfect.
He always has the best sounding
He does. He's got that pro little setup microphone right there.
I always think his sounds better than mine, although I can't hear mine, but his sounds are good. I'm like, man,
they're pretty close. I don't really know if anyone sounds that much better than the other, but they both sound really good.
I mean, this is a freaking $350 Heil microphone. I just have my good AirPods are in the car, so it's the noise canceling stuff. So it's
PR40 Heil from the Pro Series. Even comes with its own carrying case, by God.
I have an Apogee that works just as well with an iPad or an iPhone as it does my computer. So
I'm just working off my phone.
Yeah,
you sound fine. You sound good, Kyle or Kyler. It comes in clear. It's got a little bit of a tin canish feel to it.
Yeah,
but it's loud. It's clear.
I think it's just the acoustics in my car. I guess
mine's the hardwood floor in my room is why.
Should I go with my
shooting sleeve?
Why do you have that?
Yeah, why do you have that?
On the wrong arm.
You getting some buckets after this or what?
Gotta get some shots up, man. Gotta get some shots up. There we go.
All right, here we go.
There we go. Pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Don't forget, brought to you by the WOW Club. It's totally free app to sign up for. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW Club members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your mobile phone. Just go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store, sign up, eat, drink, and earn. You can use that to order great steaks from BB's Marketplace or wherever and all of that. But make sure you sign up. It certainly helps us here at Indiana Sports Beat. Welcome along, Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana, and Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Guys, how's it going?
Oh, well.
Good. No complaints.
Plenty to talk about. Trace Jackson Davis returns. We'll get to that. Also this weekend, a heavy schedule on the AAU circuit. Is it returned? You had the Memorial Day Run and Slam. That's
next week.
Up. Yeah,
but we're not. Yeah, we're done till June or till July.
That was a blank weekend last weekend, huh?
No, we played.
Which one was it?
It was a George Hill event that they host every year. It's a pretty good event. They didn't have the out-of-state teams they've normally had recently, but it was still a good event. Good local event, good way to end the spring.
And then Kyler, where were you?
I had the weekend off. I didn't have anything. Right. I didn't have anything I needed to do.
You're not allowed to have a weekend off, Kyler.
It was a blank. Well, it was a blank. That's what I thought. It was a blank weekend, as I call it.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot going on as far as IU targets concerned, and I've seen Xavier Booker and them play multiple times, so it was just a good weekend to just have off for as far as scouting Indiana targets and stuff.
We'll talk about the Memorial Day Run and Slam up in Fort Wayne that's coming up and the Nike EYBL event that's coming up in Louisville. But I guess we might as well stick with the news of the day. Trace Jackson Davis announced his return to Indiana on Friday, which not a huge surprise to me, but it was definitely a huge relief for Indiana fans because now they know that they're getting their All-American back. They know exactly what their roster is going to be. So they know what they have, and they can start the getting excited now of claiming ready for championships, which I don't think they're quite there yet, although they are very, very good personnel-wise. Still, my question is who's going to shoot the ball for this team. But first of all, what does it mean to get Trace Jackson Davis back for this team?
Well, that was I kind of threw a little wet blanket over it on one of the topics on the forum, which was I mean, obviously having him is a lot better than not having him. There's no question about that. The question will be is how much better will they be? You alluded to it. How much better will they be than last year if the other areas of the game don't improve? So that's going to be, is it simply the shot making, or is it simply the offensive structure that allows those good shooters on paper to get the kind of shots that they can hit? You know, that's the Miller Kopp thing. Miller Kopp is an outstanding shooter, but he didn't really get a lot of free looks during the year. Didn't get a lot of clean catches. Didn't come off screens a whole lot. Was obviously looked good in catch and shoot situations on kickouts, and he will benefit from Trayce Jackson-Davis returning. But somebody else is going to have to be. Other players are going to have to step up and provide the range and provide the spacing that will let Trayce and Race as well excel.
Kyler?
Yeah, I mean, totally agree what Jim just said there. Obviously, it's pretty big to have one of the best players in the nation come back, and then they'll build around him again. As far as sticking with the shooting topic and stuff, it's one of the guys that I'm kind of curious to see if he kind of does what he did towards the end of last year. That was Xavier Johnson. I thought he shot the ball pretty well towards the end of the season from the outside. So if that can continue and he can build off what he did last year, that would be great for Indiana's offense. And then Miller Kopp is another guy that's kind of been, public enemy number one with IU fans. So he's going to have a lot of pressure to kind of figure out his outside shooting as well. And, I could see him another year in Woodson's system. I could see him taking that next leap and being a lot better than he was last year.
So now they, even though that shouldn't be, the pressure starts to build because expectations will be there. And I don't know that they're fair, because I see this as without knowing everything else that's going to be in the Big Ten. I'm expecting Michigan to be good because Hunter Dickinson is back. So that they're going to be strong and at the top. Purdue has a solid lineup, but they're losing a lot as well. Don't know what they're going to be. So I think Indiana is without question a top 3 team with looking ahead. The big question again is going to be shooting on how successful they can be. But I want to look further than the Big Ten. To screw the Big Ten, because to me, the ultimate goal is what you do at the end of the year and not during the conference. Of course, you have to be successful during the Big Ten conference play without question. But it's after that. Can you acclimate to playing the type of basketball that everybody else is playing to beat those guys, to succeed in the NCAA tournament? And that's why this question of shooting to me is gigantic, because you can actually get away with it in the Big Ten. Purdue lives on having big guys. While they had Jaden Ivey last year, they haven't always been a great three-pointing team, but they've had teams that were very successful just because of having great post players. So is Indiana going to be good enough to compete with teams outside the Big Ten? The Arizonas, the Kansases, who are on the schedule.
Well, that'll be the thing too. And the Big Ten probably won't be as good as it was last year. So being in the top 3 or 4 of the Big Ten this year may not be the accomplishment that it would have been this past year. And that will impact something like seeding. And certainly if you're in the top 3 or 4 in the Big Ten, you're having a good year. It's a lot of this is degrees and increments. And, the Hood Schifino will be interesting to building on Kyler's point, because I would trust that Xavier Johnson could hit catch and shoot threes if he's clean. And now with Hood Schifino, if he is able to be a secondary playmaker, not that you would necessarily think that either one of them would be ideal as your best shooters on the floor, but if he could be a secondary playmaker, then he's also a guy who can contract the defense, force rotations, and lead to more open shots for Kopp, for who knows, if CJ Gunn can get on the floor. If he's going to be a presence, he certainly is going to be eventually be, if not immediately, the kind of shooter that Indiana would crave. And then there's, and I agree with Kyler that I think Xavier showed the ability last year when he was getting clean looks off catches, not necessarily off the dribble, but off catches, of being a guy who can hit that 3-point shot. And I'll dig up his stats after I get done with that point there. But Hood Schifino being an additional playmaker that Indiana hasn't had. I mean, look, Fennessy was always looking to pass first, which was great, but he wasn't a scoring threat, certainly not consistently. And Lander just never could get any traction. So Hood Schifino will be that additional playmaker on the floor that will help, break the defense down and create opportunities for others. And hopefully that frees up some extra looks on the perimeter.
Kyler.
Yeah. Again, having Jalen Hood Schifino as that secondary playmaker on the floor will be interesting to see. I mean, Jalen Hood Schifino has been doing that, his career at Monteverde Academy. He's been that playmaker. And I think, at first, the opposing defenses, as I should say, I mean, I think they will struggle to kind of figure out, Indiana's offense. It's very rare that you see two type of playmakers in the backcourt, like in Xavier Johnson and Jalen Hood. They're pretty similar in the way that they play, but at the same time, they both provide different areas of which they can, build on. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of lineup they go with to start off with. I don't know if Miller Kopp's going to start at that 3. I could see them having Tamar Bates at the 3, or having a 3-guard lineup along with Race and Trace. Yeah. But to see how Indiana's offense goes, it's going to be very interesting, especially at the start of the season.
And Bates was a name that I'd forgot to mention as well. I would like to see his shot progress, and if Galloway can be a guy that you at least have to guard, then he can be. That could give him some additional room to create off the dribble, which for him is his bread. His ability to attack the basket is, I think, ultimately going to be his bread and butter. So.
How good of a 3-point shooting team does this team have to be with the personnel they have? That is actually a good question, because so much has been talked about with that, because they haven't been that good. But how good do they have to be? I don't think that they have to hit a ton. They just need to hit 3 or 4 a game, especially as long as you're not taking 25.
3 or 4 more a game, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, they shot 33% as a team last year. I mean, statistically, that's the same as 50% from the floor, right? But then let's check Big Ten numbers here real quick. Let's see what that ranked in Big Ten wise. Looking here on Sports Reference. Let's see. Indiana was 11th in the Big Ten in 3-point shooting. They were 11th in the Big Ten in 3-point shooting, and they were last in terms of volume. So not a good combination. That's actually a bad combination.
It is really bad. Because that shows that you're being selective and you're not being successful even at your selective shots.
Well, and selective may be the kind word. I just think the inability for them to get good looks is that a result of the offense or the personnel? It's offense, straight offense. But that's been my criticism that's been my one concern of the Woodson hire from the beginning, was that his acumen as an NBA coach was little quick hitters, little mini sets into isolation plays for Carmelo Anthony and Joe Johnson. I mean, he was so good at creating the isolation situations that it dawned Joe Johnson's nickname. He's ISO Joe. And he's ISO Joe for a reason, because he cut his teeth at the NBA playing for Woodson as an isolation player. Unfortunately, there's no perimeter scoring threat on this team, relatively speaking, not obviously to the level of Joe Johnson or Carmelo Anthony, but there's nobody on this team who plays that way. Not even at the college level. And, CJ Gunn's maybe that kid at Lawrence North, but it remains to be seen what type of player he is. What type of player he will be in college. And, I don't know that Tamar Bates is going to be anybody that would be an isolation player. I mean, and that's just the difference between having 1 or 2 go-to guys at the NBA level versus having a broader team concept when you don't have a tremendous perimeter threat. And there just was nothing in the offensive scheme to get Parker Stewart to come off screens, to get Miller Kopp to come off screens and hit those shots, or to get those looks. Everything with them was incumbent upon jamming the ball inside the trace, which isn't a horrible idea, but at the same time, it became easier for teams to guard, and teams sometimes often felt in the Big Ten that they could let Trace get his and still beat Indiana because post-up basketball is becoming the second least efficient way to score in basketball these days, other than the 15 to 18 foot mid-range jump shot.
Kyler?
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking in my head as you were talking, Jim. I wonder if like this next year you see them not feel as pressured to give it to Trace all the time with the Malik Renews and stuff coming in and taking off the pressure from that. Is he going to be getting less touches? Does Woodson want to kind of run more of what he wants to run? There's just a lot of questions, going around with like this whole lineup, how it's going to work. I do think you see a slightly different offense this year than you were. Just going back to them not feeling as pressured to get Trace all those touches and stuff. And I think you'll see a lot more open, a lot more spaced out offense than you did in the past. So, but yeah, just a lot of questions going in with this.
And some of these numbers. Sorry, Jim. I wanted to expand on the Kopp thing. Some of these numbers sometimes can be deceiving. For example, last year, Miller Kopp. Make sure I'm on the right one. Yep, Miller Kopp got 28 shots off screens last year. That's it. 28. Now, he did not shoot a very good percentage, but I don't think that's enough of a sample size to determine whether or not you're trying to get a kid coming off screens like that. I'd like to go back and dig up his Northwestern numbers, but I don't think I'm going to necessarily have the time in this space. But and whereas he shot 36% from three off of spot up, that's obviously his bread and butter, where he's going to be the best. But I also think that there's opportunities for him to come off threes, for him to get catches in transition, where he does get a chance to get clean looks. And they're just a lot of that stuff wasn't utilized at all. The transition stuff can be hit and miss, but the off-screen stuff just wasn't a part of their offense at all. And I think it should be, but then I'm a snob. I'm a snob for off-ball player movement. So not motion notwithstanding. So
we got to hit a break. When we come back, I want to talk about with the offense needing to be altered, I guess you'd say, and with you already have Race Thompson out taking 3-point shots. If Trace Jackson Davis is also trying to add that, those guys have got to be somewhat productive in doing that, or you've going to have that's a lot of empty possessions with your two big guys being shooters, especially if it's not being productive. But we'll talk about that and much more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio when we come back. Brought to you by good friends from the WOW Club. Make sure you sign up. It's totally free to join. Start earning WOW rewards today. Earn Dining Dollars discount to spend sent directly to your app phone on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Go there and join. We'd appreciate it. Also, make sure you give myself a follow on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. Same for Jim Reamer and Kyler Staley. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting,
I think Indiana fans definitely want to see them hit the outside, hit the wide open looks a lot better than they did last year.
Who doesn't?
I know. I think that's one of the more frustrating things that, as far as shooting goes with the Indiana fans, it's when they have the wide open shots, they need to hit it. I mean, I go back to that Parker Stewart at Purdue game.
But my deal is they cannot concern themselves with trying to make TJD this shooter that he is not. That's up to him. Number one, he has got to do that on his own.
It's not about necessarily expanding his range to the 3-point line, though. I think that's
hell no. He's not going to.
That's an additional step later. That's and a lot of someone asked. When did they ask? Jim, it's funny the email exchange you and I had the other day. The gentleman who started the topic emailed me directly and said he didn't he didn't mean for his post to come off as it sounded, and so he asked me some additional questions about what I thought about Trace's development and his jump shot, and a lot of it is how he catches it. He catches the ball not ready to shoot. He catches the ball not prepared to shoot. I'm talking about facing the basket, like even if it's just in the high post. And a lot of it is catch habits that he has to change, not just shooting mechanics, but his catch habits.
But my deal is, at this stage, if he wanted to do that, he would have. There's not an excuse for me that I find acceptable, which I'm nobody, but there's no excuse that I find acceptable that he cannot hit a effing 10-foot jump shot, that he can't, somewhat. Even Shaquille O'Neal every now and then would take one from 10 feet or so. I've seen him shoot. It's not like he can't shoot, and it's not like he can't put the effort in. So that there's no way, if you put effort in summer after summer, that you're just not going to improve.
Right.
And
there's got to be a comfort level too. There's a lot of NBA bigs who are outstanding shooters in workouts, and that it doesn't translate to games because it's not a high enough percentage of success compared to what other guys in the teams can do. So it ends up being a priority issue versus an ability issue. Yeah. I think with Trace, it's a neck up issue. But I do think a lot of it is his catch habits. I'm a firm believer in being shot ready every time you catch the ball. And when he catches the ball outside of the low post, a vast majority of the time he's not shot ready.
Station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, starting the week out with you. Jim Reamer with us from Courtside, Indiana right now, and Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com. Trace Jackson Davis made the announcement Friday, returning to Indiana, completing their roster for next season. That's probably why the Dexter Dennis thing just kind of went away. It's was waiting, and at least Indiana fans got that. At least they got the answer sooner than I thought they were going to get. I'll be honest with you. I thought that they would kind of drag it out for some reason. I don't even know why. It was pointless, but they didn't. And I'm congratulate TJD for doing that. Jacob Wells pointed out free throws are way more important than the three ball to last year's team. They would have won another 5 or 6 games had they hit their free throws. Always annoys me when a guy shoots 40% from three and shot 60% from the line. Sure. I free throw shooting does drive me absolutely insane because it is absolutely, for the most part, a mental thing. Of course, your mechanics have to be right. You can't be a horrible shooter, but it's mostly mental. And man, I in the last several years, Indiana was a team that always shot free throws. Hell, they would make more free throws under Bob Knight. That was part of their mantra. They would make more free throws than the other teams would even get to take. But here of late, for whatever reason, not shooting the three successfully is one thing. Not hitting free throws, that drives me nuts. Like I said, it's just so much mental to that.
What most coaches worry about is volume of free throws. I mean, obviously you want to be a good shooting team, but that's not a function. The function of the offense is the volume, in the number of times you get to the line and the number of times your better shooters get to the line. Obviously, if Trace is shooting majority of the free throws for the team, I'd like to dig up those numbers right quick as to what is how much he shoots, how many of the free throws he's the one that shoots them. But obviously getting clean looks from the 3-point line that's a scheme issue as much as it is a player personnel issue. So, but yeah, free throw shooting is certainly important, but I mean, these guys practice it every day. I know everybody's like, these guys need to get in the gym and shoot more free throws. And I'd be willing to bet right now as someone who's coaching a very mediocre free throw shooting team. I've got some kids that shoot tremendously well during their school season that right now are hitting below a 70% clip. And it blows my mind. And so I'm having some of the same struggles with my group without getting too deep down that foxhole. So
adding Jordan Hulls, maybe there will be some help on the shooting side of things. I mean, Jordan, he is currently a 45% 3-point shooter. That's pretty good when you can bring in a guy that is currently shooting 45% in the professional ranks. Not bad at all. Hopefully that translates. We never know.
I don't know how much he can work with the player. I don't think he can work with the players though.
Absolutely, he can.
That
rule was changed. There was 2 additional guys can work not at the same time. You can't have 6 guys at the same time, but it is. I think the total is now 6, and he is definitely one of those guys. Let's see. This is that's not going to happen. Race and Trace are not going to shoot 80% from the line. It would be great, but that's not going to happen. If you could get 70% out of those guys, you're ahead. You're winning.
TJD Trace is at 67.4% with 218 attempts. That's a good number. That's a good volume.
I'm saying if you can get him at 70%, that would be perfect.
I think the key will be is getting Race to the line more, even though he shoots 65%. I think with more volume, he's got good mechanics. He can improve his shot. And then Xavier Johnson's second in the team in volume with 147 attempts, shooting at 78%. And he's got the kind of game where he gets downhill, he's going to get fouled.
And he's going to get to the line a lot, which is very, very important.
It'd be nice if Tamar Bates could add to that. That would be one way he could add to it. And at a very low number, very low clip, he shot 83% from the free throw line last year, but it would be good if he could up that number tremendously, at least in terms of free throws attempt. And Miller Kopp is just a spot shooter. Even if he's got him coming off screens, he's still a guy going to be a catch and shoot guy. And he was 32 for 37 from the year, 86.5%. That's obviously a great conversion, a great percentage. It'd be nice if he can get more shots, but it's hard to get a guy who's just strictly a jump shooter, even coming off screens, to get more free throw attempts.
Indiana needs to adjust their offense this season. Kyler, what do you expect to see different with the personnel that has been added and with what you have coming back?
I mean, I think I mentioned it earlier. I see it a lot more spaced out than what you've seen in the past. I see Race playing even more outside than he did last year because he showed the capability. He didn't shoot him often, but he showed the capability of stretching the floor out. And that's what I see. I see a lot more of that this year. And you've got guys that can stretch the floor. You've got Jalen Hood-Schifino that likely will be starting and stuff. So you'll see what Woodson really wants to run, and that's, 1 in, 4 out. And you've also got guys, the newer guys that have coming in, like Malik Renew and Caleb Banks, who both can stretch the floor. Now, they're primarily, from what I've seen from them, they're primarily post players, but they do have the ability to do that. And then we'll see, how they get Trace involved 15 foot and out. It's just going to be like I mentioned it multiple times during this whole interview. Like it's going to be very interesting to see how they adjust to what they have coming in and what they will be able to do at the Big Ten level.
Malik Reneau, what is his role going to be, do you think? And we have not talked about Caleb Banks at all. Is there any possibility that he comes in and surprises people with some addition? He's a 6'8" kid, man, 6'8", 215.
Yeah, I think he's kind of in that same kind of tier as CJ. In a way, he's kind of forgotten about because we've got the 2 5-stars coming in. But I do believe Caleb will get some spot minutes, especially early on in the season, just to see where he can kind of fit. They are pretty, this is a very deep team overall. So like it's going to be hard to adjust the minutes and stuff. But with Malik, he'll be, if not, he will be the first post player off the bench. And I would almost bet all my money on that. Besides Geronimo's also another one that's kind of, I'm very curious to see how they use him, because I know a lot of fans are kind of, really wanting him to play that 3 spot. I don't know if I personally would like to see that, but I would say probably Geronimo and Malik, you would have those guys kind of coming in, being those post backups for Race and Trace. And then Logan Duncan's another one that's just kind of like, I don't know how many minutes he's going to get. I would like to see him do some spot minutes early on just to see kind of what his role could be, but pretty deep overall.
And then, of course, CJ Gunn, as you just mentioned, we never know. I mean, was known as a shooter in high school, especially a fourth quarter type guy. He does not seem to fear putting up the big shot. Of course, this is a big jump when you go to college. I don't care. It's a major jump. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make that quickly, but he's a guy that can shoot the ball.
Right. The thing with Gunn, the worry there is, especially early, and this is something he can improve, is there have been a lot of times where he sort of flipped the switch and started to turn things on in games. And the bad part about that is that he needs to come out with the switch already flipped, but he showed against Cincinnati Moeller as a junior that he could make big buckets at a big moment of the game. He had an 8-point stretch against Moeller that basically brought Lawrence North back and sent that game into overtime when they were able to win it, beating Moeller at Southport. That was 2 seasons ago. And then last year, you look at it, just in the Carmel game that I saw, where he got no shots in the first quarter. He got 4 shots in the second quarter. And then the second half, he came out with a completely different disposition and kind of lit things up. And I think Carmel felt that they could let Gunn get his as long as nobody else was getting his. And from a team perspective, that worked. But it also showed how good Gunn could be, because the shot making in the second half against Carmel was outstanding. He elevates extremely well into his shot. He is a guy that is going to be able to create separation vertically and get vision on the basket, even if he's guarded. Now now the issue will be is, does it translate to the college level, or how well does it translate to the college level? I would think it has a great chance to do so, even if it's not immediately, certainly eventually.
Well, the depth on this team, absolutely unquestioned, because as you just mentioned, Malik Reynaud, the first big man probably off the bench. He's a freshman. Jalen Hood-Schifino probably starting, a freshman. So that kind of pushes some guys down. Geronimo, Joaquin thinks that Geronimo is going to be the 6th man. But regardless, the depth is there. And it seems to be there at every position. They're deep enough as the big man, especially if they can get Logan Duncan coming along. Mm-hmm. Then now you've got 4 big men. You've got a pretty good set of guards. If these guys can step up, if someone like Tamar Bates can step up and all of a sudden become that wing guy, that 3, and Geronimo as well. This could be a very talented team. We just don't know who's going to do what until we see them.
Right. This is all down to shot making at this point. Do they have enough shooting to create the space where, Trace can get better, Race can get better, and they've got a lot of talent. It's just you're going to be putting it together and figuring out a way to get quality shots other than just relying on jamming it down inside.
Geronimo's he's 6'6", isn't he?
Yeah, he's 6'6".
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see his development from the perimeter perspective. There's no question that's what he wants. There's no question that both coaching staffs were pushing him to develop a perimeter game, even though they play him at the 4 spot primarily. It would be interesting if we ever get to see any lineups where he plays with Trace and Race. Certainly, and that would be an imposing defensive lineup, at least from a paint protection and a rim protection level. Whether or not Geronimo can guard skilled wings remains to be seen, and whether or not he can shoot it well enough to be out there as well.
Well, he's not 6'8", but he does have the wingspan of a 6-7 footer, I think. I mean, he's gigantic. So he may not, but his vertical also makes up for not being 6'8". So
physically he's special. Yeah, he's special physically. He's a lot like the OG Anunoby comparisons are legitimate, other than the fact that he's probably an inch or two shorter.
Yeah, so that's what Joaquin was saying, that he compared him to OG, who just did nothing but improve. Like that's a guy that you saw improve just constantly. Just day after day. And Geronimo, he hasn't grown that quickly, but he may have as much or better tools than OG. I don't know.
Hand it to Crean. The players develop when they plan for Crean.
No joke. What's coming up? Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, what's coming up next for you, Kyler? I know you got to get in.
Yeah, so just quickly, I'll be at the Nike EYBL on Saturday. We'll have Keegan with me. We'll have full coverage all day with that. Then probably do some live streaming Sunday and Monday, depending on the games and everything. But be down in Louisville to see some IU targets and kind of catch up with them and see how the recruiting process is going.
And you can get that all at the Hoosier.com. Jim Reamer, what's up your weekend quickly?
This weekend, we'll see. Coaching-wise, I'm off until the last week of June. So the rest of it's going to be finding team camps to go to watch high school kids from Indiana, hitting the top 100 in the Charlie Hughes Invitational, which, again, if you're a basketball fan in Indiana, that's effectively a pseudo-state tournament in June, played primarily at Carmel and Westfield high schools.
Looking forward to doing it again next week, guys. Can't thank you enough. Tomorrow we're back to do it again with Kevin Brockway, Mike DeCourcy, who was at the Combine, and Chronicle Jonas as well. Thanks to Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com. Make sure you give him a follow. To Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana. Most importantly, thanks to you guys, also to Charlie Miller and Dustin Dopirak. Go out and have yourselves a great day. We couldn't be here without you. We appreciate it. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat